Hello and welcome to the NMS Prime channel. I'm Robin.
And my name is Thorsten.
And today we are going to show you how to set up a cloud installation of NMS Prime.
Yes, and this is quite amazing because cloud installation means that we are hosting your NMS Prime instance in a cloud and that you can connect your CMTSs locally from your regional network. And how this exactly works, we're gonna show you this in this video. So stay here. So, okay, Robin, how do we start when we want to do the cloud version?
The first thing we're going to do is we head over in our browser to nmsprime.com, and you can find on our website a button called Free Trial. You press the button, and there you're going to see a form which you can fill out. I'm going to do this right now.
So you are entering your email address?
Yes. And the password.
And then we enter a password, and with the password we ensure that you get your credentials encrypted so that nobody else can see it from our server to your email. And
after clicking OK, you will see that your instance will be created and you will receive an email in the next 5 minutes. So now we're going to wait for the email. So now we got an email about 5 minutes later, which you can see right here. And there you can find your login credentials in the attachment, which I'm going to download right now. Gonna save it. And there is my file. And in the zip file, you can see a public key, a private key, and the login credentials. And the whole file is secured by the password you entered at the beginning.
So, okay, and Robin, these keys are for what reason inside the file?
The public key is on the machine, and you actually don't need it. And the private key is used for logging in. So you don't have a password for the SSH machine, you use a key.
So the keys are for SSH?
Yes.
Okay.
And in the credentials, you can find the paths for your browser and Isinga and other stuff.
So, okay, cool.
So we first try out your subdomain you got from us, which is this. Well, it works great. And you log in as root and use the password we sent to you. And then we are logged into your virtual instance.
So this is quite amazing because after 5 minutes we have already installed and finished a virtual machine of NMS Prime. And now we're gonna continue with the installation. So what will be the first step we need to do when setting up the NMS Prime after we've logged in?
If you don't know where to start, you can always scroll down in the dashboard and you will find the next step. This is, for example, setting up the internet provider name. Click it and you can input a name, my ISP, and you can also click on save.
And here you see the login that we've made so far, and then you can click on configuration. And you always see here you need to log in, it's explained, and then we go to global config, and that was what Robin showed and what he was showing here. And yes, now you can continue.
You can also configure other things like the billing base or the customer control center, HFC, or provisioning. I'm going to show this one real quick because here we have the community name, public and private already set. And
or SNMP communities, Robin?
Yes,
okay.
These are SNMP communities, and we also have a domain name for modems set, nmsprime.test.
Yeah, and what I see what also is important is the provisioning server IP address, which is the local interface of the provisioning server, which will connect through your CMTS, but we will jump in this quite soon.
Yes.
So, okay, and if we go into our Confluence, then we see the next step is that we need to set up our modules. And of course, we want to show you how to bring a cable modem online. And we click to provisioning setup. And the next thing that we need to do is adding a CMTS. So
Yes.
let's continue.
So we head over to provisioning and then to CMTSs. And click on the blue button for creating a CMTS in the upper right. And there we have the company name, which will be a Cisco, of course. It will be a UBR 7225. And the host name you can set for yourself. We use this, for example.
Yeah, it just means development cable gateway.
And we need to set up the IP,
Yeah,
which is the...
yeah, and maybe we will try to explain this a little bit later. This is our first IP address inside the bundle. The IP address must be or should be a private IP address of the CMTS, and we want to show you later how the bundle interface is configured. And I guess this is the first routing IP which will be used for CPE privates, but you will see it next.
So after setting this up, we click on Save.
We leave the SNMP communities empty, and this means this will use the global configuration settings. So if you only need to change them if these differ from your global settings. So okay, and the next step will be that Robin, we show our CMTS configuration and just get a walkthrough. We have made a separate video about it, how to configure a CMTS. We will link it here, and now we just want to jump through and explain a little bit. So please, Robin.
Okay, so now we are right onto our CMTS, and I'm gonna show everyone now the running config by entering show running -config, and we are gonna quickly go over this. It's
much is default.
Yeah, most of it is default, and
maybe just a short comment here. This was our F gateway interface connection. There's also a separate video about it, how you can add your CMTS interfaces. Yeah, and here maybe it's a little bit interesting, so maybe just wait. Have we already? Yes, we have already connected our CMTS with a public IP address. This is, of course, important because now, or the next step will be that we want to create a tunnel between the CMTS and the cloud version. And this was our public IP that you saw here. Then we have the RF stuff again.
Yes, and we have the interface bundle, which is already pre-configured, which means that these addresses are configured for the system. And we also have set up a cable helper address. And
yes, maybe just scroll a little bit back. Yes, and what is important that we see here is that these three different IP pools, one is for cable modems, the next one is, I guess, for cable modem privates, and then for MTAs, and the cable modem helper address is the local address of the provisioning system, which we want to prepare in the next step. So this is how we continue from here. The rest is really default. Maybe what is quite interesting is the default route. Of course, we need some kind of default route, which is masked with IP route 000 and so on. And then we have our default gateway, which means every packet that the CMTS does not know how to address, it just forwards it to our default gateway. And this, of course, ensures that we are reaching our provisioning server inside the cloud. So, okay, now maybe, Robin, let's hand over to the next step. We want to create our tunnel, which is of protocol IPsec, and yes, it's...
So for this step, we have set up a page in our Confluence documentation, which is, of course, for the cloud only, and we add the CMTS tunnel by using this configuration. And we have to set up two machines. Your virtual machine needs to have installed StrongSwan and some other little settings, and the CMTS needs to be prepared too, of course. So for this step, we copy the whole configuration file. Into our text editor of choice. This will look like this. And we have to change the cloud IP address of the machine we created for you and we have to set up the CMTS IP.
So Robin, the cloud IP address I get from my email, is it correctly?
Yes, it's correct. In your email, you can find the credentials text file, which I'm going to show you quickly here. And your IP address is set up here.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
So
first we replace this, I understand.
Yes, you're going to set it up like this. And then you need to know your CMTS IP.
The public IP address of the CMTS, I guess, or is it the private?
It's the public one, yes.
Okay, it's the public one.
So for us, this is this address.
So this is just our demo CMTS in our lab.
And you need to set up a secret, which your virtual machine and your CMTS are going to use for communication.
For the tunnel encryption.
This one is set right here in this line, and we just use Cisco for presentation.
Yeah, of course, in the production system, you should use a secure password. So try to create a random password with enough characters.
I made a little mistake now, because I forgot to highlight that little symbol. But that's no problem. So, and now we're going to paste this into our CMTS, line by line.
Yeah, it's just...
or chunk by chunk.
Yeah, pretty forward. And maybe we do it section by section, and we try to explain a little bit what each line makes.
Oh, and you don't need to copy the lines with the exclamation mark in front of it. These are just comments. Oh. No, before we're going to do this, we need to enter the config mode by entering conf t, and now we can copy it.
It's just about some kind of access list which says which packets need to go through the tunnel, and these are marked based on the IP addresses which come from to and the other way around. So that's what we've done first.
Yeah, the CMTS normally has an access list, and we extend the access list with our own sub list, which is called IPsec in.
Yeah, it's another access list which also is useful for the tunnel, or it's required for the tunnel, and it says which addresses will be also encapsulated inside the tunnel. Yeah, then we've got the statement with crypto, ES, ISA, KMP, policy. I guess this just says how the key is prepared, and has normal Cisco configuration, so we also copy it from official Cisco sites. And okay, transform set means, I guess, it enables the crypto setting and says which encryption is used. And then we add the crypto map. And last but not least, what is important, that we need to go to our interface configuration, which is in our case gigabit 0./2, not 0/1.
Right.
And we need to say that the IP access list and the crypto map should be used, which we define above. So this is all the magic. If you need more information, then just refer to official documentation of Cisco. And this was all we need to do inside the Cisco CMTS.
Yes.
And what will be the next step that we need to do, Robin?
The next step will be we prepare our virtual instance for the CMTS, and yeah, we jump right into this.
Yeah, okay. So let's jump into this.
So in the attachment zip file was also the key file, not the one with the public at the end, but the private key. And we're gonna use this one for logging in. I'm gonna show you my terminal now. And we switch into my downloads folder. Here you can see the files again. And I'm gonna use SSH. We log in as user CentOS. And the IP address is the one of our virtual machine.
So it's also inside the credentials file,
It's
of course.
also inside, yes.
And
then you use -e and give the key. It's going to ask you if you want to continue because it doesn't know the fingerprint. And you type yes, and now you're logged in. And for installation purposes, you're going to need the root login. You can just use sudo su, and now you're root.
So we are connected with SSH, and the certificate we provide via email, and yes, quite perfect. Yes, and now we jump over to the documentation in our Confluence page, how to continue with the Linux setup. And I follow this on my laptop and try to explain, and Robin executes the commands.
So we just copy these commands one by one.
Yes, this is for our provisioning IP address, which means 172.20.0.1 is the provisioning internal IP address, which the cable modem will request to. You have seen some minutes before in the video that the cable helper address is directed or forwarding to this address. And this statement just says at a second interface to our EDH0 virtual interface with this IP address so that it's publicly available.
I'm going to split the screen a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So this was here. The next statement, the next two statements, or the next statement is just that for our monitoring system, internally we use Cacti for monitoring, and for our monitoring system we need to use our own DNS server. So NMS Prime comes with own DNS server. This is just to translate our cable modem host addresses, and yes, for this purpose we say use our own DNS server, and then we clear the resolve config.
Because the resolve conf does interfere a little bit with our configuration, we have to clear it. So, and then we're gonna install StrongSwan, which is the program used to build up the tunnel and also to make the connections and bring the addresses up.
Yeah, quite cool.
So that's pretty straightforward. You just install StrongSwan and say yes. And you need the Ipl release in your CentOS, but you should already have this because you've installed NMS Prime.
Or it's come from our cloud.
Yes, this is already pre-configured.
So, okay, quite cool. What will be next?
So then we have to copy the next part and use our text editor again. Because here we have to set up also a few things. First we need the cloud IP. And this is not the cloud IP which we sent you. It's not the external address of your virtual machine. This is the internal address. And you can find this one right into your terminal after logging in. I'm going to show you this one. In my terminal, you have the host name of your machine, which is 172.31.45.193, and this is the address we are going to use.
Yeah, we will also see this if we type in IP address. This was also quite complex for us to figure out because in the Amazon cloud we are hosting the system. The machine has a public IP, or the machine has a local IP, but it's connected through a public IP, and Amazon is forwarding these addresses, and the normal StrongSwan configuration just works like Robin explained it with the local IP. So this was also quite complex for us to figure this out, but it will work like a charm if you're using this configuration.
So then we need to set up the CMTS IP. That, of course, is an address you should already know.
So this is the IP where the StrongSwan connects the tunnel.
So yes, that's it. So
okay, this also creates just a file for the StrongSwan configuration, and now we are just quite finished with the configuration.
yes,
So just simple 3 more statements.
So we copy the next part from our Firefox, which is that one right here. And we use gedit again and set up the address again.
So this is for the shared key. There's a special configuration file for the pre-shared key inside Strong-Swan, and it's just the syntax. Robin replaces the statements. CMTS IP is again the public IP, I guess.
Yes.
So, always the public IP I've read through. And yeah, the secret we were using.
Yeah, we will use Cisco again because it's easy to remember, and for testing purposes, this will do it.
So once again, we add a new file.
Yes.
So quite cool. And what are we going to do next?
So the next thing we're going to do, we restore the networking service and we enable Strong-Swan. And this should already be it for bringing up the cable modems itself. And then we need to configure NMS Prime, of course.
Yeah, quite cool. So let's do it. And I'm interested if it will work. So restarting the network is always a critical task. So be sure that you've configured everything well, but it worked. And now we
enable Strong-Swan.
And will enable already started, or I guess we need to extra.
We can change. We can check the status of Strong-Swan. And we will see that it's inactive.
So we need to add a separate.
So we need to start.
So I guess we need to fix this in our documentation. Yes. That's no problem.
So now it's up and running.
So and do we see if the... So first of all, maybe just type in IP and A, so for address. So here we see that we've added the local address. So okay, Robin, and how can we test that the CMTS tunnel is working?
You just use Strong-Swan for testing purposes, and you enter Strong-Swan up, and then the one you want to up. For our example, this is CMTS-CM. If you look at the configuration file, which we inputted earlier, you will see that there are 3 sections, CMTS-CM, CMTS-Cpe priv, and CMTS-MTA. So, and then you will see connection CMTS-CM is established successfully.
Yeah, quite perfect. And the next thing that you can test is that you can ping the IP addresses of the bundle interface. So maybe Robin will also show you. And one word to say, we've configured the Strong-Swan configuration. So this works like a charm.
Beautiful.
And we've configured the Strong-Swan configuration that it will automatically start the tunnels after you restart your VM machine. So of course you can also test this. Yes.
Yeah,
quite cool.
So now we're back into our virtual machine in the NMS Prime website. And we already saw that this command was with a red arrow while saving the CMTS. And if we press F5 after configuring the CMTS and our virtual machine, this little message will go away and everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's just because we added the IP address of the provisioning system. Yes, and how do we continue, Robin, from here?
Now we are creating the IP pools by clicking on IP pools in the upper right. And these we are all gonna left like they are and just click on save at the bottom.
So this is the cable modem IP pool. So the cable modem will request inside this pool. It's just default.
Yes. So here we have our CMTS. We have to create another IP pool by clicking in the top right. And here we're going to create one for Cpe private. And the rest is pretty much standard, and we just save.
So quite cool. I've just looked in our documentation. So the next thing we need to do is add a QoS profile. So how are we
find QoS under provisioning and click it. And in the top right is always the create button. and we make 100M, 110 for example.
Yeah, that's just a speed configuration. I guess everybody knows what QoS means. And the next thing is that we need to create a modem, but this will not work because billing is installed, so we need to set up 2 billing issues first. And the first thing that we need to do is to add a cost center, Robin.
Yes, so we find the cost center under billing base by clicking there. And in the top right is always the create button. And this one is called my billing. And that's all we're gonna need. So what's the next thing?
Yeah, the next thing we need to do is that we need to add a product, and the product must be connected with the QoS profile. So we will see this here. Just one word to the documentation. If you want to set up the entire billing module, then you need to add a company and a Cpe account. But if you just want to bring cable modems online, we can skip this. So
the products can be also created under billing base. You find your product list here. And we create one for internet. So that's called my internet.
Yeah, or just maybe call it internet flat 100. So
that's even better.
So that we know what we are doing.
And we set the QoS, which we created, and the billing cycle.
Must be monthly, and we need to add a price.
About
25 euros.
20.
Normal
25.
in our region. Yeah, this works perfect. And back to our documentation, I guess now we should be able to add or create a cable modem. So
this will be created under provisioning.
We need to create a contract first.
Yes. Yeah, let's make one.
Yeah, and then we need I guess we need to add a cost center. It's also a mandatory field. And yeah, just let it test if it will work. So yes, we've created a contract, and now we can add a modem. Now Robin have logged into the CMTS again, and what we are going to do next.
We need to register a cable modem now, and for this we need the cable modem MAC address. And you can find these MAC addresses in your CMTS with the following command: show cable modem, and your CMTS will show you all the cable modems which are connected to the CMTS.
Yeah, maybe you add the CMTS, and I explain a little bit about the configuration. And just for understanding, yeah, just go and I'm
just taking this one.
Yeah, and this is just our test lab, and we have added, I don't know, about 10 different modems behind it. And Robin takes this MAC address and copy it into, or adds it, modem.
I'm going to add it. I'm clicking on modem, and the MAC address goes right here. And I know exactly that what I'm pasting in doesn't look like the placeholder in gray, but NMS Prime is clever enough to detect this and change it how it needs it.
This is quite cool. Maybe one word what I see is the configuration file. They are already installed by default, the base configuration file. There are more videos about this, how you can change these configuration files. This will work with every vendor. It's just a default thing. And then, like you click, you need to internet access enable. And I guess that's it, Robin.
I guess that's it. And then we click on save and restore it at the bottom of the page.
Quite cool. And now we make a shortcut, and we wait until the cable modem is online. So, okay, and now we have waited about 10 minutes that the scheduling and everything is done in the background of NMS Prime, and we are back at the modem, and now we want to jump into the analysis page. And
the analysis page can be found at the top, right besides the edit page button, and it's gonna load a few seconds. And there it is. And we can see that the modem is online, right here.
We see the downstream and upstream channels. So this is a DOCSIS 3.0 modem. It's an ARRIS modem, and Then we have the entire logging. We have made a lot of videos about the analysis part of NMS Prime. And like you said, we can scroll down to monitoring, and we've got the last 5 minutes that the modem is online. And what is also quite cool is that on the right corner, we see the sum up, which means 1 of 1 cable modem is online. So this is also scheduled in the background. So it takes maybe 5 or 10 minutes that it will get green. And maybe now we continue with the Cpe analysis,
which is also at the top right besides the analysis button. And there it is.
Yeah, this means the Cpe is online, but it's not pingable. I guess this is default for errors, TG modems. I'm not quite sure. And maybe we can jump back to our CMTS and have a look there.
So.
And maybe Robin just type in show cable modem.
Yes, the command is show cable modem like we used before. And there we will see our one modem with the status online.
Yeah, this is quite cool. And maybe you can type in show cable modem and then the MAC address of the modem we've added. So just copy it. And then afterwards the word Cpe. No, not just add Cpe. And here we see the cable modem is registered valid with Cpe. So guys, that was it. I hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you get the installation running well at your test system or at your production system. If you have any questions about NMS Prime, use our public forum or just contact us directly. We are looking forward to get your stuff online and to get cable modems registered. Have fun with the video, and we will see you next day.